Hey, Jocko. I'll be heading to Marines OCS soon, and I know how crucial leadership is for success at OCS, TBS, and as a Marine. My question is, what happens if you make a decision as a leader that you can rationalize as the best decision for the team, but the result is not a good one? Will my superiors want to see that I'm making quality decisions or producing the best results? Interesting. I know good decisions usually lead to good results, but when it doesn't, what's the next best way to handle that situation when under evaluation at OCS?
Well, like you said, if you make good decisions, generally the outcome's going to be good. But it is a correct statement that sometimes you make good decisions and they have bad outcomes. In combat, that can definitely happen if you decide to go left instead of right. If you look to the left and you look to the right and the left has better cover than the right, and so you go to the left, and then the enemy happen to have mortars dialed in that area, and so as soon as you go to the left, even though there's better cover, you get overhead fire, indirect fire, and people get blown up and people get killed. That may have been a good decision, but the result was bad, and there's no way you could have known that. So what do you do in those situations? You made the best decision that you could with the information that you had at the time, and it turned out to be a bad result. As a matter of fact, in Ramadi, when they had a phrase to describe if someone took a shot at what they presumed was a bad guy, but it turned out to be, let's say, a civilian, they would say, and they would investigate heavily to find out what happened, and depending on the situation and what happened most of the time, they would call good shot, bad result, meaning a soldier, Marine, someone was looking down a street and they see something suspicious, and then they see an actual individual out there carrying out enemy tactics, techniques, or procedures, and they judge the situation to the best of their ability, and all of a sudden pressure arises and he sees something else that also is enemy activity or enemy procedures, and then sees a friendly force approaching and it's like, okay, these guys are in danger, I got to do something, takes a shot. And it turns out that what the person was doing, once they investigate, someone goes and sees what the person was doing, they were doing something that was not nefarious. It just didn't happen a lot, but it definitely happened. And so the term that they would use would be good shot, bad result. And as long as there was logic to the decision that was being made, and the person that took the shot owned it and said, here's what I saw, this is the shot that I took, that's what happened, I own it. And the upper chain of command would then say, okay, well, number one, is there anything we can learn from this? Is there anything that we could learn to prevent this from happening again? And if we can't, then we spread that word and tell everyone what happened and why it happened, and if there's any way to improve the decision-making process. Now, the biggest mistake so that's what you do. You own it, you see what you can learn from it, and you move on. And your leadership or your instructors are going to see the same thing. They're going to see that you had a logic. If you can explain why you made a decision, now your explanation might be bad. Your explanation might be bad. You might have prioritized wrong. You might have read the terrain wrong. You might have assumed that the enemy was going to do something and they did something else. Those are bad things that led to your decision. Those are bad choices. Those are bad assessments. Those are mistakes that you made. And so what led to your logic may be faulted.
Would that be a ding against you in a good
yes.
shot? So it wouldn't be a good shot.
Yeah,
right?
Because if you said, well, I thought that the guy was, I thought there was a curfew in the area.
Yeah.
Well, there was no curfew. Why did you not know that? Right. You know what I mean?
So not a good shot.
That's an excuse.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a good shot. You took a shot that your logic doesn't match up.
Get you there. Yeah.
But the other big mistake, or I'd say the biggest mistake, of course, that people make when they make a bad decision or things that don't make sense, is that they defend them, or they blame other people, they blame other circumstances, and that's what they say. Well, no one told me. No one told me that, or no, the sergeant was pointing in that direction, so that's where I told everyone to go. Like, no, don't do that. Don't make excuses, right? Don't make excuses. It's like saying, well, I did a perfect job, but the but the enemy used mortars, and that's out of my control. It's like, no, instead of saying, so like the first case, like if you went left instead of right and you ended up getting mortared, you said, well, I didn't expect the enemy to use mortars. That's not my fault. Instead, you should say, you know what, I should have done a better job assessing the mortar threat. And I should have had more space between my troops, because that's another thing that I screwed up, is my troops were too close together, and so we had multiple get wounded with one mortar round. That shouldn't have happened. And we could have moved quicker through that area, which I failed to do. So those are the things I'm going to fix next time, and there you have it. There you have it. Don't make excuses. If you own it and you explain what you can do better, the instructor's going to agree, and they're going to move on. And if you make excuses, the instructors are going to eat you alive. And by the way, if you make bad decisions continually and you keep owning them, well, let's say you keep making bad decisions. And so you start thinking to yourself, well, I can't take ownership of this anymore. I'm going to get kicked out of here. Well, guess what? So then you start making excuses for them. You're really going to get kicked out of there then. You're really going to get kicked out of there. So that's something to keep in mind. Also keep in mind that the instructors know everything that's happening. They can see so much more than you can. And I know this because I was an instructor for I was running the training for a long time. You can see so much. One classic example, when you go through officer candidate school, you're not allowed to look at your food. Yeah. And when they say don't look at your food. So I sat down the first meal. And I'm like, well, no one's going to know if I'm looking at my food. How can they tell? And so I just glanced down at my food. Instantly, there's drill instructors all over you yelling at you. And they're like, who told you not to look at your food? You're weak and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, how the hell did they know? 13 weeks later or 12 weeks later at officer candidate school, you're a candidate officer, which means you're now kind of in between the recruits and the drill instructors. And so you're allowed to walk around and you're reinforcing. And you go to one of the tables where there's 30 recruits sitting there or officer candidates sitting there, and you look down the line, and when someone glances at their food for a millisecond, it's completely obvious. It's so completely obvious. You can't hide it. I'm talking just their eyes are moving, but it's so obvious. And that's what it's like with everything when you're going through tactical training. The instructors can really see a lot. They can't see it that much because it's a little less control, but they can see a lot. And also they have things planned, and part of the plan is that you're going to fail sometimes. They're going to set it up that way, and they want to see how you react to that. They want to see how you handle the stress, number one, of an unwinnable situation. And then when you fail, how do you react to failure itself? Do you just blame everybody else? Do you not, it wasn't my fault? Because if that's what you're doing, it's going to be problematic. And the last thing I would say to this guy here, dude, relax a little bit, right? Because you haven't even gone to OCS yet, and yet you're fearing judgment. You're fearing not being considered to be perfect, and you're not going to be perfect, and you're going to be absolutely judged. It's okay. Be humble, do your best, and have a great time. It's awesome. Military training is so fun.
Interesting. I've heard mixed opinions about that, but hey, I get it. I'll tell you, you know why it's easy to see you looking at your food.
Why?
I'll tell you why. It's an anatomical thing. When you look down, your eyelids and eyelashes, all that stuff goes boom. They shift down, and it's super obvious physically to see.
Yeah.
Notice that. If you look side to side, not much, only your little eyeball or whatever. But if you look down, but you can't look down without doing your eyelids. See what I'm saying? Like you gotta.
I guess so.
Like when you look down, your eyelids just and your eyelashes.
All I know is this: it's real obvious.
Yeah.
Real obvious.
It's funny though.
Yeah.
Because I thought the same thing.
I totally thought I was going to get away.
Do it just for a second.
No, you can't.
And it's not like you can act like you're looking at something else, and you can't do that because
you got to look straight ahead.
Yeah.
It was actually so funny how I got so busted and how cocky I was, thinking how are they going to stop me from looking at my food? I'll just glance down, and they just are on you
and like
white on
50
rice.
other guys, by the way.
Yeah, and you look down and they just jump on you. It's crazy.
It's good funny stuff. I feel like this kind of thing may be a good way to look at it, and I'm only going on based on kind of what you said, but like any decision, like situation where you I gotta make the right call or the right tactics or what to get a certain result or whatever. It really, when you kind of think about it more, when I do anyway, there's always an element of chance, right? Yeah. Remember how so I'm going to the post office, right? I'm driving. There's so me saying, okay, I'm gonna go the safest route to the post office. I'm gonna get there, but boom, I'm gonna deliver or mail my thing. I'm gonna come home. The chance that I get killed in one way or another, car accident, whatever, is there, very small, but it's still there. So. And not to say, the how big or small of a chance these things are. I'm just saying there is an element of chance, regardless of how big, how small, of something getting in the way of your success, even if you make all the right decisions.
Oh yeah.
Or if you make the wrong decisions, there's
For
chance just involved in general.
Here, you just made me think of something that can jam people up, as you like to say.
Sure.
And this is something that guys used to say to me, and so you need to try and avoid this. People would say, I was trying to do what I thought you would want me to do.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I thought that's what you would want to see. That's what they'd say.
Gotcha.
Well, I thought that's what you'd want me to do. I thought that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
So if you start playing that game, like you start assessing what's going on, and then you start adding a layer of like, what do the instructors want me to do right here?
Yeah.
The chances are that that's not going to turn out well, because you're trying to predict what you should do is look at what's happening and make the best decision possible from your perspective. The minute you start thinking, well, they just taught a class on breaking contact. They probably want me to break contact right here. So you call a break contact, and then everyone runs away, and then they go, why did you break contact? There was one guy with a rifle, and you had a 40-man platoon. What's wrong with you? And they go, and then what you say is, well, I thought you wanted us to. No, we want you to run a good tactical situation.
Yeah.
Don't do what you think people want you to do. Don't do that. Generally, I'm not saying don't weigh it at all, because they're teaching you something.
Yeah.
But don't be stupid.
Yeah, don't be stupid. That's good advice. But see what I'm saying though, that chance is always there.
Yeah, there's always a chance you're gonna.
And it's weird how like when you're successful in something, I don't know, whatever, even like in like life, like if you're I don't know, your career or something, when you're successful in it, you don't really talk about the chance element, you know. But if you're unsuccessful, that's when you'll be like, oh, it's just bad luck, you know, hey, these chance kind of situations or whatever. So it seems like, anyway, given what you said, that his kind of objective or his kind of outlook or his way of being when he goes into the situation is, hey, man, sure, there's going to be there's going to be a chance that the result isn't going to be that good. There's a chance, and there's a chance that it's going to be good or whatever, but focus on the sound decision making, and then if the chance comes, or the luck or the probability, the improbable situation or whatever, that kind of negates your good decision making with its bad result, then, hey man, still focus on your decision making. Don't be like, oh, it was luck. Or it was someone else's thing that I had no control over kind of thing. That's what she's saying.
It's true.